Welcome to the $100 million scaling roadmap brought to you by acquisition.com. Off of the experience we have looking at thousands of different deals, investing in many, and personally having 10 companies between the two of us inside of our portfolio right now that does over $250 million a year. And we want to share the absolute best tactics that you can use to scale your business. All right, so you may be here because you, one, got a custom plan emailed to you, and this is the first video. And so if that's you and you're like, yeah, I did get that custom plan. And if you're like, but I did opt in for it, but it's not, I don't have it in my email. Well, we have these custom plans that we made for you for the $100 million scaling roadmap, which this whole training is all about, that breaks down exactly the level that you're at, where you need to go, and what you need to graduate to get to the next level. And so if you haven't found it, just check your email. I promise it's automated, it's there. Search for acquisition.com. It might be in the spam box, God forbid, but I promise we sent it to you. Alternatively, if you're like, wow, what's that? And you're just here from a book or a content or something, then you can go and click the button below this video to get your own customized scaling roadmap specifically for you, and we'll send you in PDF format as soon as it goes through the interwebs with the millions of dwarves that we have in the background working to make this happen for you. All right? So with that being said, let's get into it. So the disclaimer is money making is hard, and most people don't make much. And so we promise you none. This training outlines what we did and what we have seen work across a lot of companies, and it may not work for you. And so our promise here is that we're going to break down every step from scaling from 0 to 100 million from experience and not theory. And so we're going to walk you through our scaling roadmap so that you can figure out exactly where you are and know exactly what to do next, which we call the $100 million scaling roadmap. Ta-da! All right, and so little proof, just in case you don't know who we are, Layla and I, we are managing partners at acquisition.com, which is a portfolio of 10 companies at this point, 4 of which have scaled beyond $100 million plus in enterprise value. 2 of those are software companies, 2 of those are service businesses. And so this is kind of the experience that we're bringing to the table for this scaling roadmap. And so with that being said, let's begin.
So there's really 3 elements of scaling, okay? So first, you have to have the functions at each level to scale, okay? That's what a business has to do to make money. So think marketing, sales, finance, customer success, legal, right? On the other hand, you have to have people, right? And that's the who that does those things. That's directors, that's managers, it's individual contributors, right? Those are the people that do the things. And then you have operations, and operations is what connects the people to the functions, okay? That's meetings, that's communication, that's training. It's really the glue that brings everything together. And so when you have all 3, you can go from $0 to $100 million and beyond. Or you can go from no humans to a bunch of humans, right? Basically, you can build a business if you have all those 3 things. And so for context, imagine 2 businesses, okay? So say we have a restaurant and we have a software company, okay? And let's say that they make very different amounts of money. So the restaurant makes $2 million and the software company makes $100 million, okay? But they have the same number of employees. You see this all the time, right? Restaurant has 35 employees. The software company has 35 employees, okay? They may actually have a 50x difference in revenue, okay? That software company is making $100 million, which is a crap ton more than the restaurant, okay? But they organize similarly, okay? So the restaurant has 35 employees, does $2 million a year. The software company has 35 employees and does $100 million a year. But they look the same when it comes from a people standpoint. Similar functions will occur within the business in order to scale it. And so that's why we organize this by function and by number of people or headcount, because we recognize that one business that has 35 employees organized like the last slide can make only $2 million a year, but another business with employees organized as such with the same functions can make $100 million per year. That's usually based on the opportunity of that business in general.
And so functions by headcount will be the first of the 3 scaling trainings that we made for you here, all right? And so we divided them into 10 stages, and I will say this again, by headcount. And so although you may have been attracted to the title of 0 or to 100 million, 100 million plus, the thing is that the things that are far more common and consistent between businesses, like the software and the restaurant example, is how many people and the structure of the organization and the functions that must occur at each level. And so that is why we divided it this way. Now, to be sure, if you get to 500 employees, it's very likely that you'll be able to do $100 million per year. It's very likely. Some businesses can do it here. It's very likely you'll be able to do it there, all right? And so on top of that, once we divided this by headcount, we then said, okay, what is the one-word theme that we can use to describe each level. Like, what do you have to do at each of these stages of scaling? And so this is how we will break down each stage. And here's our lovely map that has way too many things on it, which is why we have this entire training to break down very nitty-gritty details of what it looks like for you. All right, and so what we'll do, for example, if we zoom in on one of these stages, this is what we're gonna be going over. So this is the stages of scaling.
So essentially for the stage of scaling, we're gonna have a one-word theme for each stage, and that's what you just saw on the last slide. Going with that, we are going to identify the stages by first headcount. That is the number of employees in the business. The second is by your role, okay? That is how you translate priorities into functions, right? It's where your focus goes. The next is your leadership structure. That's going to be the structure of people working together, and typically how many layers of leaders you have in the company, whether it's just you or multiple. Next, we're gonna talk about how many companies are actually here, right? And so the number of companies that actually achieve this scale. And we base this on the US Census Data Bureau of Labor Statistics. Then we're gonna go into functions, right? We break the functions down by what's the constraint at that level, and then what do we have to do to graduate, okay? And so we're gonna break that down by these 8 functions. First, we've got product. That's the goods, services, and results you deliver to the customer. Then we've got marketing, which is how do you tell people about your stuff? We've got sales, which is how you get people to give you money for your stuff. Customer service, which is how you increase the likelihood that customers rate highly, buy again, and refer other customers. We've got IT, which is how you gather, store, analyze, and display information. We've got recruiting, which is how you find and hire people to work for your company. HR, how you decrease the likelihood that regulators and employees sue you. And lastly, we've got finance, which is how you report and manage your money.
And so at the end of each theme, we're gonna have a bottom line objective. And so this is going to be what you prioritize your company's resources to achieve. So big picture, we're gonna have one big constraint at this level, and then one big thing, this bottom line action that you'll need to take in order to graduate to the next level. If you only had one thing to take away, you would take that thing. And this has come from us working with thousands of businesses. And so my quick disclaimer here, or our disclaimer, is that as we go through the levels, think of these as guidelines, not rules of law. Every company is unique and sometimes does things in different ways. And so if you find yourself ahead in headcount, but you skipped a step or two in sales, and you're ahead in HR or whatever, it just means that it's likely that that step will become a weak link later. So if you're ahead on something, it could be a weak link later, so maybe you do prioritize that now. If you are ahead a couple steps, then awesome. You're super developed in one area. It's probably not the constraint of your business right now. And if you received a custom plan in your inbox, you'll get the custom PDF of all the 10 steps here, so you don't have to worry about it. And we'll have the closest step to you highlighted. Because again, I'm saying closest, not your step. Because no business is the same. Every business is a little bit different. But these are the things that'll be probably most approximate to you. Along with that, we'll give you the before and the after, the stage before, and what you need to get to, so that you have both, okay, I definitely need to make sure I check these things off, and that you have a line of sight into what you need to do next so that you don't shoot yourself in the foot, build something out that you're gonna end up having to reverse later. And so this way you can make sure you finished all the steps before, right? And that you can solve what happens next. Quick warning that I wanna make here is that we do not recommend watching all of these trainings because I don't think it's gonna be helpful. You're gonna start jumbling all these different things from different levels that you think you're gonna have to do that aren't gonna be priorities for you.
And I would say a lot of companies actually die by indigestion, not starvation. So they try to do too much, not too little, and that's why they end up not growing. And so I think focus is important here. And so consuming all of them and then trying to execute on them or get ahead is probably not actually that beneficial.
Fundamentally, you have limited resources and you have unlimited things that you can do. And strategy is prioritizing the resources that get you the highest return, which is typically going to be focusing on the constraint of the business that you have. And so that's why we've tried to make this as targeted as possible. So despite the fact that we've done a ton of background work for each of these stages, all of them won't apply to you. And so just focus on the one you're at, the one before, the one after if you want to. That's all I would recommend doing. The next video is going to overview all 10 of these levels at a high level, just to hopefully scratch your itch, because I know some of you are like, I still want to learn it all. And so we'll go over it at a high level of what the $100 million scaling roadmap looks like. But I still strongly advise, once you double click into the training that we get you in the custom roadmap that you've been sent, that you just stick with that. All right, that's our big recommendation for you, because I think it'll be a much better experience for you. All right, so with that being said, let's scale.